favorite moment on the mic? I'm not going to start with Ian Smith because I think we all have a feeling about what might be his favorite moment on the mic. Harsha Bhogle, lead us on this. How did you feel? Tell us about the mood in the commentary box, this broader stadium vibe. Take us with you. Take us there.
Take me to Smithy. He gets all the best overs to do commentary. They call him Super Over Smithy. You know that? He's called in the cricket world the Super Over Smithy. There's a super over, and he just seems to pop in like a hologram. He's bang there in the middle. It's a decent sized hologram, but it's a hologram nonetheless. But my happiest moments have actually been more as presenter than as commentator, because I didn't always get to do the end overs, which is so much more fun. There was a test match in Chennai in '99. It's India versus Pakistan. Very, very tense. Pakistan win a game after a once-in-a-lifetime 100 from Tendulkar. And I'm at the where the cameraman is about to say goodbye. And they tell me in my ear, I think it was Simon Wheeler, tells me in my ear, just keep going, keep going, keep going, he says. And then Pakistan went on a victory lap around stadium in Chennai. Pakistan victory lap in India. So that was great. A young producer suddenly changed the roster, put me on for the last few minutes of Tendulkar at an international cricket ground. That was just so good. But on a lighter note, Rahul Dravid announced his retirement from T20 cricket just before he made his debut. And he hit 3 sixes. And can you imagine Rahul Dravid completely out of shape, slogging 3 sixes in a T20 game back to back. So that was fun. But purely to be in a commentary box, I think it was 2013 Champions Trophy for me, because I was calling the action right at the end. England looked to be cruising. The match suddenly took a twist. It was just 20 overs. India got to win it. And it was wonderful to be calling those last few overs of the 2013 Champions Trophy.
Ashwin, 6 in the bank. Treadwell misses, Dhoni misses, but it doesn't matter. India win the Champions Trophy as England capitulate. It was their game, England, but it's been a tremendous bowling performance. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni, well, this was the one trophy he didn't have. He's got it now. What a game we've had. We waited all day for it. And India now winners of the ICC Champions Trophy 2013.
I don't get to do finals of World Cup overs. That goes to Smithy. And I'll tell you a very interesting story about that World Cup. Smithy had a ticket to go back to New Zealand, stayed on, and provided one of the finest pieces of commentary that I've ever heard in that World Cup final. So that's the way it goes.
Guptill's going to push for 2. They've got to go. It's got to throw. It's got to go to the keeper's end. He's got it. England have won the World Cup by the barest of margins. By the barest of all margins. Absolute ecstasy for England. Agony for New Zealand.
Is it my favourite time of commentary? Well, it has to be right up there, doesn't it? Because it was perhaps one of the greatest games of cricket that we've ever seen or ever likely to see, particularly when you consider the importance of what was at stake and the stage that we were playing on.
7 weeks of cricket, 48 games, 1 ball. Here's Bolt. They're going to push. Are we in for a super over? They've got to go quick. They've got to go quick. Out. I'm sure he's out. We're going to a super over.
It was great to be out of there, and where it came from, I don't know. I had no idea it was going to turn out that way when I sat down with 7 overs to go. I had no idea that last commentary stint, that usually is around 30 to 35 minutes, was going to last closer to 90. And it was. I've always said this about commentary. Commentary is not a competition. It's a combination. And when you work alongside people, you bring out the best in each other. We struck a good combination with Nasser Hussain and Ian Bishop. Nasser, of course, was such a passionate Englishman, but a true professional. I'm a little bit less to that because I believe I've been doing it quite a long time, so I believe I'm a cricket commentator from New Zealand, not a New Zealand cricket commentator. So I'm not there to fly the flag or wear the cheerleader's outfit. And Bish has always been one of those guys who you can see Ian Bishop with a wig on in a court because he's just that balanced and that calm that he'd be the guy who can make the decision. So you can just see, can't you, Judge Bishop? You can just see him there making the most balanced, reserved. When all it's
Remember
done,
the
the most
name, Judge
sensible
Bishop.
words. Okay, they'll come from Judge Bishop. But so we found a balance, and it's a combination that brings out the best in everybody. So we struck a combination, and we found a moment to bring out the best in ourselves, which is fantastic. But can I say, whilst that was the most exciting thing that ever comes to mind for me in terms of commentary, and I'll never ever forget that chance, and I'm so thankful for it. Another great moment happened for me in Lords and Test cricket, and New Zealand were on the verge of winning their first ever Test at that most famous ground. And I was commentating with a man who I regard as the greatest and taught me so much without me asking him a question, because I just watched and listened to everything he said. And that's Richie Beno, of course. He's no longer with us. New Zealand, I think they needed around 3 or 4 to win. And he set it up by saying, New Zealand are on the verge of one of the great things in their cricket history. They just need 3 runs to win. And he put the microphone down. And the producer in the back said, Richie, where are you going? What are you doing? It's you. He said, no, leave it up to him, meaning me. This is his time. This is his moment. Let him enjoy it. And I thought, wow. And to me, that was, whilst it wasn't stunningly exciting because they were obviously going to win, it was a memory that made me think about how I would approach commentary and treat other people in the commentary box. And that's where I got this thing about being a combination, not a competition. So very poignant memory for me from a great man and the greatest commentator.
Wow, what a beautiful tribute. And I have to say that when you said the combination thing, that definitely rings true in the kind of commentary that you do.
Well, I mean, Harsha's, I work well with Harsha, though, because Harsha and I, you might have noticed, there's a little combative nature between us. And that is fantastic. You don't want it to come out in everything you do, but, people, if you've got a bit of banter and a bit of fun, because one of the things about commentary, which you also should remember very, very strongly, is while we're there to inform, we're also there to entertain. The game of cricket is a product that in most countries people have to pay for now, and they need a product that is worthy of what they pay, and that means they require entertainment as well. So, and humour is a big part of commentary, and there's always banter in commentary boxes. And to be fair, when I don't commentate anymore, that will be the thing I miss most, Elma, the banter.
Elma, the fun with working with someone like Smithy is you need people who will give as they take, or rather who will take as they give. Smithy gives a lot when he's doing commentary with you, but he's willing to take, and that's the fun. That's why I enjoy working with him. Smithy, who was a nerve when Grant Elliott hit Dale Steyn for 6?
That was me. And that was me that got Kane Williamson that hit Pat Cummins or someone for 6.
Straight down the ground. That's good for 6. Kane Williamson has won it for New Zealand. Oh my goodness. What a day out at Eden Park.
Yeah, I get the lucky ones, eh? Tell you what was the most amazing memory about that, Elma, was the aftermatch. It was the view afterwards. Of players picking each other up. Grant Elliott picking up Dale Steyn, who had collapsed in the middle of the pitch. Grown men with tears in their eyes, and New Zealand players not quite knowing what had happened. They had just found a way in front of their home crowd to get to the World Cup final, and I think they were as stunned as anybody. So, yeah, I'll never forget that image of Grant Elliott and Dale Steyn. It was one of the most amazing images of success and failure in sport with such a fine margin. Amazing.
And sportsmanship to balance it all off.
I know.
Yeah.
I know we're going over, but I'll tell you of a moment when I saw a tear gently start to form and roll down Smithy's cheek. We are doing the 2015 World Cup final. I'm hosting Smithy's guest, Australia playing New Zealand in the final. And just before, I'd spotted Martin Crowe there. And Martin Crowe we knew that he didn't have much time left, and he was just soaking in probably the last tournament he was going to be at. And we all ran across to say hello to him. And I suddenly see Smithy says, just a moment, with a couple of minutes left. He goes, he meets Martin Crowe, he comes back, and I promise you not, Smithy, there was a tear that formed in his eye. So I've seen there's that other side to Smithy too.
Now we are giving you the floor as we do every week. And from the fans, we answer your questions. On YouTube, Nikhil Kumar asks an interesting question. Says, what will commentary look like in the age of social distancing without crowds? Is there any possibility for commentary from home? And perhaps this is an opportunity for us to just lift the lid a bit on what happens when you need to commentate on a match that you're not actually attending. Harsha, how does this work?
It's a little different, Elma, when you're doing commentary off tube. We've had to do it a few times, budgetary constraints sometimes, technical issues sometimes. So when you're doing commentary off tube, you're actually watching the same picture that a lot of you at home are watching. We're watching exactly the same thing. When you're at the ground, you've got one eye on the ground, one eye on the screen, and in commentary you can be at the same speed as the game progressing. When you're doing commentary off tube, and that could happen if you're doing increasingly at home, slightly behind the action, because when the ball goes up, you've got a pretty good hunch from the position is the shape he's formed, from the way he's hit the ball when it's going to clear the boundary, but it's up in the air. You don't know if there's a fielder underneath. Or there's a lovely flick behind square. You don't know if there's a man behind square, unless some good directors actually have a little pitch, a little fielding map on the left corner of the screen. So sometimes you have to be behind the action a little bit. I like it when I can hear the director in the ear, even if I'm off tube, because then I know where he's likely to go next, what graphics are going to come. Otherwise, we are blind. We're just reacting to what is coming rather than getting ready for what comes. So you'll find we're all slightly behind the action when we're doing off tube, but you can add more graphics in studio if you want. There's a few other advantages there, but nothing beats being at the ground.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this develops, because in the case of this becoming a more regular occurrence, all commentators will rely so heavily on directors and producers and the rest of the technical crews that, of course, as a viewer, you're not aware of. But those people not only then inform the viewing experience, but also the commentary experience. Next up, a question here from @KDasgupta_18, asking, isn't it difficult to commentate and control your emotions during a live match when you're actually supporting that particular team? Now, you're such a consummate broadcaster. I'm sure you've dealt with this like long ago in your career, but what would your advice be to someone who's perhaps coming through the ranks, who has the opportunity to work on a match where they have passionate personal feelings?
I'm a little sad that things are changing a little bit on that front, Elma, where increasingly broadcasters are expected to be, I won't say cheerleaders, it's a term that Smithy also used just now, but where broadcasters are allowed to represent their team in a commentary box. It's not a trend I'm happy with. But say India's playing Pakistan, it's a World Cup game, the pressure is very high. If you haven't done an India-Pakistan game, you haven't seen pressure. So clearly you want your side to win. But remember, on a world feed, you are going everywhere. I like the term Smithy used, that he's a commentator from New Zealand, not a New Zealand commentator. You have to be a commentator from India or a commentator from Pakistan. But it is true that you will get a little more lilt in your voice if your team is doing well. But you have to understand that you're not a cheerleader. I think, and that's happened to me a couple of times, as soon as the game is over, I put the microphone down and the feelings start to come up. But you've got to keep them a little bit at bay while the game is going on.
And then, Ian, there's one last question here for you from Tush in Emma. Tell us how the nature of cricket broadcasting has changed over the years. You came into broadcasting as a former player, a bit of a different experience, I'm sure, for you starting out, but you've also had the benefit of a few years' experience.
Well, I think one of the major differences, Elma, has been technology. When I first started commentating, we didn't have telestrators. We didn't have graphics to the level that we've got them now. We didn't have statistics at our disposal. You had to be a little bit more prepared within your own sort of situation. So you had to do a lot more homework back in our day, and you couldn't get that level of information. But technology, the use of cameras has changed so differently, from just having a couple at each end. I can remember cricket, when cricket was broadcast from or shown from one end of the ground only. Fortunately, I didn't have to commentate then, but so you actually showed bowler bowling away from you, and then you saw a bowler bowling towards you. So you saw the back of the batsman, which we only ever see in replay now. Slow motion replay, spin vision, the sound effects and the stump mics. To me, nothing has changed more in the game and changed the way you do it than technology. It's been absolutely fantastic. And even now, I know in a dungeon somewhere in Mumbai, someone will be coming up with the next great thing, the next great innovation in cricket. And it's fantastic that these people have this ability to keep inventing. You think you've got the finished product at the end of one season, and then at the start of the next season, you have to sit down for 2 or 3 days and learn how to use something else to its best advantage. So that is the one thing that has changed in my time. How far is it going to go? Well, goodness me, I don't think mobile phones were too far advanced when I started. And now I can do a program like this basically around the world on a mobile phone. Where's it going to go? Steers only knows, I would think, but it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. But there'll still always be a certain way to describe New Zealand beating India or New Zealand beating South Africa, and hopefully that won't change.
Of course, he wasn't going to let us get off that easily. Thank you so much to our phenomenal guests on Cricket Inside Out this week, Mr. Ian Smith and Harsha Bhogle.